Alright guys, it's been a long time coming. What's up, YouTube? So, told you guys a while back I'd be doing some review slash versus videos on, well, some drones. Is this mic on? Yeah. I've had a really bad habit lately of not turning the microphone on, so I go to edit my footage, and there's no sound. So I'm screwed. I even tried one time to, try and read my own lips of what I was saying and remember the best I can, and then record an audio and sync it in post, but it was just too complicated and turned out too convoluted in the end. So, I don't know why, I just told you guys all of that. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about drones. We're going to be talking about the DJI Spark versus the Mavic Mini. So, first off, I can tell you, just moving this around and handling this versus handling this feels like a cheap plastic toy. It barely feels like a decent drone. It's heavy enough to feel like a decent drone, but it's not heavy enough to feel like that good solid quality you're used to feeling in a DJI drone. Which means that this thing is going to get pushed around by the wind pretty easy. But then again, there's not much body mass to it, so it shouldn't be too terribly manipulated. They've changed a few things. If you're a Spark pilot, they've changed a few things. Here's your traditional battery on a Spark. Slides off on the back. On the sides you got, try and cover my face up so it will focus on this. There you go. So you got these little sliders here that slide. And when you slide those, push them back or whatnot, whichever direction they go, if I can figure it out. So when you slide those, they slide into these two little locks here and here, and they click into place. You get a nice solid little click. And I guess in the beginning with these, they had a problem with that click wasn't quite strong enough. They weren't clicking in all the way. It was too hard to push the battery into place. Some people weren't able to push it in all the way. So you'd be flying up, several hundred feet in the air, and all of a sudden, clink, there went your battery, whoosh, and of course the drone goes flying down. So, I guess I didn't really have to throw the battery just now just to show you that, but hey, you got a good analogy. So, big differences. The Spark is using a 12 megapixel sensor, I believe, and it's got a 2-axis gimbal, which means that the gimbal can rotate this direction and the gimbal can rotate this direction to help keep your footage nice and stable. So as the drone rocks back and forth, the gimbal will stabilize and keep your footage nice and still. Shoots at 1080p. At 1080 you have 24 frames a second and 30 frames a second, and I believe you have those capabilities at all the versions, shooting abilities that you have on here for video. I think you can shoot at 720. I don't know, I've never checked because I wouldn't really have much of a use for that unless it gave me some kind of more benefit. For example, if it has 720 at 60 frames a second, that would be tempting, because then I would be able to record some slow-mo with this, even though I had to drop resolution. I had an old T5i that did the same thing. If I wanted to shoot slow-mo, I had to go down to 60 frames a second in 720p, as opposed to 60 frames a second in 1080. So, but you can do those things if you really want slow-mo, up-res it later. Let's see, what other features? Oh, big one. Here's a big one. Obstacle avoidance. So, you can fly this thing in regular mode straight at a wall, a tree, or a person. It's going to pick up with infrared what you're flying at and stop itself before it hits it. I've tested this out thoroughly. It works great. I don't know if you can see the glue on there, but this leg is actually glued on. I mean, it's a good job glued on. You know what I mean? You can hold the whole drone from it. But, yeah. That leg broke off because the obstacle avoidance has a view in front of the drone but not behind it. And I was getting a shot of something for a video that I was making. Obviously, but like, not just playing with the drone, I was actually shooting something for somebody else. And I was coming up and backwards at about probably close to 40 miles an hour. And I just barely clipped the top of the tree as I was coming up and backwards, and it just tumbled. A 75-foot tall tree just tumbled all the way down, landed on the sidewalk on the edge of the curb, and just, there was no hope of it surviving that big of a fall. This thing's taken quite the amount of tumbles before that and after. That's the only time it broke, though. I've had a DJI Spark, not this one, but the last one that I had. No, the one before that, actually, that I got up, it was up above the clouds, and like, I couldn't get it to come down. I was up on top of a mountain, so I flew up a couple hundred feet because it started in the middle of the cloud because we were on top of a mountain. So I figured it'd be really easy to get right above these clouds and get these shots. Problem is once I was up there, the sensor kicked in and started telling me that the cloud was the ground, so it would only go this fast through that entire cloud. Needless to say, my battery ended up dying in the cloud, and it fell from hundreds of feet, just flat, boom, into the grass. And it was fine. But it died in the middle of me recording. I didn't get to hit stop record, and it still worked, and that shot was beautiful. So I did it again, and it fell again. But I hit stop record this time. I got to keep my shot, and it was still fine. So durability, yeah, absolutely. Great drone. Amazing drone. I do have a video on my channel that will show you how to change the parameters on this so you can get super sport mode and push it closer to 50 miles an hour as opposed to 30. If that's something you're into, do at your own risk and follow my steps very closely and exactly, because you could end up making mistakes and brick your drone and turn it into a paperweight, which you probably don't want. So that's the DJI Spark. I don't think I'm leaving any features off. Oh, there is one feature which I thought was annoying that they took away on the Mini. I don't know why. Quick release props. See, I just took the prop off right there. Real easy to work with and use. So that's the DJI Spark. If that's what you're looking into, and that's sounds like everything you could ever want in a drone, it weighs just over 350 grams, 358 grams, I believe. If it's something you're into, get it. Go fly it. There's a link in the description where I found you a really cheap price on Amazon. So you can go down there and make sure you're not just getting a Spark, but you're getting the right combo with the right components. Because you can actually buy this and people will make it seem like you're getting the controller with it when you actually don't. And then when you go back and look, people get upset because they did kind of tell you. Use my link. You'll get a nice bundle with everything you could possibly need in it. Probably cheaper than you would find the drone for yourself. So, there's a DJI Spark. Now this one right here is the Mavic Mini. So, what are the benefits of the Mavic Mini? First off, you got different options when you're shooting. So you can shoot in 1080 or in 2.7K or in 720p. you have a 3-axis gimbal instead of a 2-axis gimbal, which means that the camera will rotate this direction, as well as look left to right. So when you're getting those orbiting shots, they're a lot smoother. So you have the 3-axis gimbal. You also have a safer battery setup. It actually has a door that flips open, and it still has the nice little clip into place for the battery so that it can't slide out on its own. You have extra vents on the bottom to help it stay cool, as well as vents on the side, versus just 2 vents on the side like the Spark. The range, connectivity with GPS and everything, I would say is about the same. One of the biggest differences is 249 grams. I'm not sure if that's in focus right there. 249 grams. Why is that relevant? Because the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, has laws in place for drone pilots. And one of those laws is that you have to register your drone with the FAA if it weighs 250 grams or more. And then they're looking at putting, well, with the whole remote ID laws, there's going to be a lot of restrictions on a lot of drones, and they tried to avoid some of those by making a drone that doesn't quite fit into the class they described. But you know how the government works. They're just going to change the paperwork and change the class and how it describes, and you're going to make sure that this is included. So my honest opinion, whoa, I almost found myself in the middle of a cat fight. So, government's probably going to figure out a way to bypass what they did here to help us out. So is that an actual benefit or not? That remains to be the question, because all the people that bought this to avoid those laws when they come into effect in about 2 years from now, they're going to change it to include this within those 2 years. So I don't think there's actually any benefit as far as weight's concerned, besides the fact that it folds up and can fit in your pocket easier, or fit in your camera bag. So that's the biggest plus for me, is I have a drone with me almost everywhere I go now because it fits in my camera bag. Whereas the Spark, if I were to fit it in my camera bag, I'd have to sacrifice a lot of space for other items and take them out in order to just put my drone in there. Whereas this conveniently folds up nice and small, so I can slide it right in to my camera bag into just one of the regular pockets, like a lens pocket, a front pocket, my gimbal pocket, anywhere that I want to put it on my camera bag, it will virtually fit. Also, you have a lot more shooting modes. You have 720 at 24, 30, 50, and 60 frames a second. You have that in 1080, and you have, I want to say 24 and 30 frames a second in 2.7K, or it's 30 and 50 frames a second in 2.7K. I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I would have to go back and look. I forgot about that detail. You're going to have to forgive me for that one. A couple other cool changes that they made is the controller. They did take some stuff off that actually I don't quite appreciate. This is the DJI Spark Controller. As you can see, there's a pause button in there, and there's a programmable button on there. So I can use my record, picture, or programmable, or I can pause or programmable, and that pause button is great. Because if you ever find yourself in a situation where things are getting questionable and you need to save your drone from crashing, All you gotta do is smash that pause button, and the drone stops wherever it's at, stops whatever it's doing, it just pauses where it's at. And that can save your butt someday. But they took that off of the Mini for some reason, and they also took the programmable buttons off. So I had my buttons on my Spark program to look all the way up or all the way down, so that if I'm doing something and I need to see the ground immediately, I just click one button and I'm looking at the ground. I don't have to roll my gimbal down there manually. But as far as benefits to the controller, is the joysticks come off. They twist off and they tuck right inside on the bottom of the controller. If you don't lose them. If you don't lose them, they tuck right down here, as you can see, and the controller folds up. You have your OTG cable right here, which it's nice the way that they built it into the controller, so it folds up with the controller now. Because I lost probably 10 different OTG cables with my Spark because there's just no safe place it stays, so I gotta take it off my controller, take everything apart, and then I end up leaving it sitting on the ground or something, pack up and go home. I'm not about to drive across town for a couple $1 cord, spend more on gas than I would getting a new cord. So, Mavic Mini versus the DJI Spark. Which one is better? Different markets, different people. I don't think one is better than the other. I'm on the fence about possibly saying that the Spark is better. But then again, I lose some features with the Spark that are the exact reasons I bought this. So it depends on what you want. I really wish I could have all that the Spark does, plus what the Mavic Mini does, all built into this, so that it could just be better. But we don't always get what we want. So I just got a second drone that has different purposes than my Spark. My Spark, usually that's the drone that I trust above water if I'm gonna be really pushing some stuff or some shots where I could lose a drone. I don't want to lose the Mavic Mini yet because it's too new, I guess. And higher resolution, I can record slow-mo. And it fits in my camera bag. So it's a good enough drone for me to be my everyday drone. But I will not be selling my DJI Spark. Because there's just some things that are better about it. So if these are either drones that you're considering, or if you want to know what other equipment I use, what camera I'm recording on now is a Canon SL2, there's a link in the description below as well. I'm going to start putting links for everything that I use or talk about in the description, just because I've noticed most YouTubers do that for their viewers, to save you guys from having to go hunt so much. And also, is it supports my channel as an Amazon affiliate. So, let's look at some drone footage. And I'm going to play the footage. And then, you're going to try and guess what it is. And then I'll show you what the footage is afterwards, like I'll tell you at the end. So, it'll play most of the clip, with nothing on the screen, no text. And right before the clip gets over, it's going to tell you what it was. And let's do 5 clips. So that's going to be, 5 clips that you're going to guess what drone it was. And let me know in the comments down below, how many of them did you get right? Out of 5 clips, how many did you guess correctly before the text showed up to tell you what it was? well, forgive me, I guess. I opted for a shadowed dark face over a blown out cheek. So, let me know. Actually, this has been a constant dilemma for me on here of trying to figure out when I have to choose the dynamic range, whether or not this should be blown out and this visible, really visible and look really nice, or this looking good like it does and this really dark. I'm thinking this looks better, but sometimes I make my face more visible because I'm afraid you guys are like, oh, I don't like it. So, what do you think looks better? How it is right now, this is how I think it looks the best, personally. But I've been wrong once before. I was wrong. You see, I thought I made a mistake. Yeah, but it turned out I was right. So, just kidding. I'm not actually that arrogant. It was just a joke I learned from one of my old bosses back in the day. So something I forgot to mention with the Spark is that it has some automated flying features that the Mini doesn't have that actually do make it a little bit better. Like follow me mode, where you can put the drone in the sky, draw a box around yourself, and the drone will actually fly itself and follow you when you don't have to do it yourself. So, but at the end of the day, let me know which one do you think it is. I'm going to fly 5 times, you tell me which drone you think it is. And then at the end of the clip, I'll tell you which drone it actually is, so you'll know if you're right or wrong. So let me get my crap set up here and let's fly some drones. So how did you do? How many of them did you get right out of the 5 shots? How many of the videos did you know which drone it was? And how many of them did you get wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm not gonna lie, usually on these kind of videos, when I see somebody else post one and I watch it, I'm pretty good most of the time. Most of the time I can spot the difference without pixel peeping, which is which, what is what, especially when it's a camera phone versus a camera. Those ones are pretty easy. kind of why I haven't really done any of those videos, because I haven't seen any that I feel like are actually comparable if you know what you're looking at. But drones are a different story, especially two drones that are in the exact same class that were, in essence, built for the same customer and the same market. Although I do think they still have different customers in different markets. Trying not to die on these speed bumps because I got, well, one drone and a controller in one hand, well, and the camera in the other, and I'm hitting speed bumps, trying not to die. I don't recommend this to anybody at home because it's dangerous. So if you're a kid, yeah, don't try this at home. If you're an adult, well, do whatever the heck you want to do, but if you're a kid, I didn't encourage you to multitask this heavily, because I don't want anybody saying I encourage their kid to hurt themselves, so keep that in mind. And if you haven't, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video. Otherwise, this camera's starting to shake because my arm's getting tired. So peace out.